Today, we are in Burnsville, North Carolina at the Yancey History Association, where is the Bailey Museum. We invite you to come in to see the David Boone Woodcarving exhibit in Burnsville, North Carolina, 3 Academy Street, Burnsville, NC. Come on in and let's see David's work.
Come on in here. I'll tell you about some of these carvings. All right, here is one that, this is a carving. The banker is sitting there and he's asked this guy for ID, and the only identification he's got is his belt buckle. So I'm not sure he'll get any money. I don't think I would loan him any. Okay, come on in here. We're going more carvings. This one is one that these fellows are trying to fire the cannon, and it says, no, 2 is load, 3 is fire. He's fired on the wrong number and he's blown the guy away that was trying to load. These boots was off the left. This one is the first human I ever carved, and it's out of buckeye. Now this little carving was in Washington for a long time, and
At the Smithsonian.
I think it was the Smithsonian. That's what they told us, but I didn't think I was getting it back, but I did. This one is an old man. He's been out cutting wood, and his grandson's brought him a bucket of water, and they're sitting there resting. My grandson, Seth, when he was that age, I had him sitting on a stool, and I used him to carve this. And when I go to a show, when I come back, he wanted to know, Granddad, did we win? And I told him, yes, we won. Now here's some carvings these are real old carvings. This is the first thing I ever carved at owl, and it's old buckeye. And I carved it. I carved for a long time with my granddaddy's case hunting knife, and when he died, they gave me his knife, and so that's what I used. But I'm not much of a bird carver. But you can see these are old birds, and here's a bear, and there's a ground squirrel. These are all real old carvings. Now here's one I've done this year. Here's one I've done this year. It is it's a piece of walnut. You can see what color the walnut was, and I put a little oil on it, and it's a lot darker. But I like carving walnut because it's such a pretty wood when you get it carved.
And you won second best of show in Charlotte, North Carolina with this piece in 2019.
Yeah, sure did.
And won a second best of show in the artistry of wood carving in Dayton, Ohio, also with this Indian.
Now this is this lady here. I'll show you this one. This guy has come in a little bit too late. He's got his shoes pulled off, and he's trying to slip in. And the old woman, she's caught him, and she says he's too late because it's 5 after 2, so he's too late. And I think he's in trouble. This one of the dog's up the tree, and the coon's on the ground, and you can tell the old man is wanting that dog to get down from there. And these are just some heads that I carved. I thought maybe that a Pony Express rider that would be, and this is a rider of some kind. These are just all this stuff I just carved at random. This is all one piece. It's a carving. This old man is, you can tell he's had a drink, and she hadn't. She's not wanting to party as much as he is.
And it won second best of show in Dayton a few years ago.
Yeah, it did. This one, this guy's got a dog, she's got a cat, and the dog's misbehaving pretty bad. He sends Sit, heel, roll over. He's trying to call every command he can to get the dog to behave, but you can see the dog's not behaving. Now this one, this is a wood carving I did of Nettie Boone. Now Nettie Boone was the youngest brother of Daniel Boone, and was the only one that we know of that wore a coonskin cap. Daniel never did wear one. So this log, it's popular, and I had a lot of trouble with it. After I carved it, I set it in a room for a while, and it split open all the way down. So I had to saw it in two, and then I went inside and hollowed some of the part of the wood out. Put him back together, drove wedges in the cracks, and recarved it. So it's this old man, he doesn't have a heart now. Now we'll get right here behind you.
Just a minute, let me do this right here.
Now this carving won Best of Show in Charlotte, and it's an old man with his dog, and he's out coon hunting apparently at night. He's got a lantern, and you can tell that the dog is not going to go anywhere. There's something out there, but it's way too mean for the dog to go after it. So the old man's hoping the dog will go after it. I think they're both scared to death.
And it won Best of Show in Charlotte in 2019, and it won second Best of Show in Artistry and Wood in Dayton, Ohio at Wilmington in 2019, and that was the last year of the Artistry and Wood show.
That's right. Now we needed a carving for our book, the character carver's book, and they wanted to do something with motion. So I carved this old man and his dog, and they're going hunting, and you can tell they're excited about going hunting. Now this is one I call Little Red's first shoes. The horse is, this man and this man and this man have all got a problem. The horse has got this man by the pants. This guy can't figure out why they can't hold the horse still. And this guy back here, the horse is on his foot. And they thought it was going to be a simple little thing, but they're having a lot of trouble shoeing that horse. And that's all one piece. That one gave me a lot of trouble.
And that won Best of Show too.
Yeah.
And read the poem to them.
Okay, I wrote a little poem to go with it. It says, Shorty Edwards was his name, shoeing horses was his game. So Uncle Jake and Cousin Fred hired Shorty to shoe Little Red. Shorty said, boys, tell you what I'll do. For this little horse, just $1 a shoe. Late that night I heard Shorty say, man, it was a tough $4 I made today. So Shorty might not want to make a deal like that anymore. Okay. Now, we'll go back here where
Wait
we've got
just
some
a minute.
Indians.
Tell about this one right here.
This hobo?
Uh-huh.
That was the first carving I ever took to a competition. And it was in Charlotte, and I won a ribbon with it. The show theme was a hobo. So that little hobo won my first ribbon.
And it was in 1991.
Yeah, a long time ago. All right, in here we have a few Indian heads. We'll show you right quick. These are all walnut. Like I said, I like to carve walnut because it's such a pretty wood, and it's a little bit hard to carve, but it's beautiful when you get it carved. I want you to look at this one. This one's all one piece except for the arrow and the bow, and this one was a little bit hard to carve. He's trying to convince the chief that he didn't know his bow was loaded. It says, me didn't know it was loaded. And you can see that the chief, I tried to get the chief to where he held, you'll have to come around this way, it's glued down. The chief where he's got a dignified look as best he can. But I don't think the Indian with the bow, I don't think he'll ever make chief. He seems to be in a lot of trouble. All right, let's go into another room and I'll
Okay,
show
let me
you
do
it.
this right here just a minute.
We have some in this case, and I'll tell you about some of them. This is carving, and on the block it says, "Are you a Hatfield or McCoy?" And I'd be afraid to say what I was. He's loading his shotgun, and I was in Vietnam, so I did a few Vietnam carvings. These are real old, but mail call was my favorite time of the day. This one down here is called the Posse. They're after a guy, and they've stopped and picked up this old farmer out in the field. He's come along with them, and they got the banker with him. It's the deputy sheriff, and over there's the sheriff with his field glasses, and they just don't know where he is, but he's hid right under there.
And this one, the Hatfield and McCoys, was in one of the Character Carvers of America books.
This guy, a man should be well groomed. He's cutting his toenails with his pocket knife. He's gonna be well groomed, all right.
That was on the cover of Chip Chats at one time.
Yeah. And this is an old rebel soldier that's not give up yet. This guy here is out scouting, and he says he's not seen any Indian sign yet, but he has an arrow in his hat. His tomahawk's over here, so the horse sees it, but he don't see it. This is a all one piece. It's walnut, and this, you can tell it's the guy's Saturday night. He's in this tub. And he's got his jug with him. He got his big old cigar, and he's right where he wants to be. This is called the storyteller. The old man's been out splitting wood, and he's decided he'll stop long enough to tell his grandchildren a story. And you can tell they're watching everything he does. I said this is a lot like a lot of the men in Yancey County that have hunting dogs. The child may be sick, but the dog's going to go to the doctor with any little thing. So the dog must have an earache or something. That's what he's checking. But you can see they're so concerned about this dog. Hunters love their dogs. And this is called the spring tonic. I had to do a competition one time. We had to carve something by Norman Rockwell. So that was a cover on one of his magazines. So that's why that one was carved. This is a guy playing his guitar. It's kind of a piece here and there. This, if you'll get this picture, there you can see the little pattern down there. It's for this lady playing the dulcimer. And I'm starting to carve her out up there. And she was in a congressional building somewhere in Washington. I'm not real sure. The Southern Highlands Guild wanted that to. It was some sort of a display that they had, and so it stayed a year.
Did you cut and dry this wood that you're carving?
Yeah, it's basswood, and it's here in the mountains of North Carolina, but it's not as good as it's up north. I like to get the wood from up north, but this is handy, so that's what I use. Now, I used to live in a community where there was a little country store, and this was going on all the time, playing checkers. And so this guy here, him and his grandson, they've come in. He's bought his grandson a moon pie and a RC. And this old guy, he's beat. And if you can get on that fellow's face, he is tickled to death to see this guy beat. And the dog, he's kind of concerned. He don't know for sure what's happened, but he knows something's going on. Things like that I love to carve mountain people doing things that I can remember when I was a child I did. And I said that I was in Vietnam, and so here of late, the last few years, I've loved to carve some pieces of Vietnam. So this one is the latest one I've carved. These are 9th Infantry soldiers, and they're going to the swamp. That's where I was in the 9th Infantry, and we were in the Delta. And so these guys are going through the swamp. You can come around here and get a
And they were in the
of it.
1097 Medium Boat Company.
Yeah, it was. And this was one that I carved several years ago. These two soldiers. These two soldiers have a wounded guy they're trying to get to the chopper. I love to carve the Vietnam soldiers now. For a long time I didn't want to do that, but I'm beginning to want to carve the soldiers. And I kind of dedicate all of this to all the boys that served with me in the 9th Infantry in 1968 down in the Mekong Delta. Now this has been sort of just my wife and I, and we're getting ready to take this all down. They're gonna put another exhibit in here. So we just wanted to go around and film it. Somebody might want to look at it later. So we pretty well covered it all, so goodbye.